All right, can you introduce yourself and just let everyone know who you are?
Okay, I'm Cicelia. I feel like I'm at a support group, and
Yeah.
I'm a Harry Potter addict.
Yeah. Hi,
And yeah,
Cecilia.
I'm from South Africa. Yeah, and yeah, I'm from South Africa. And what do you want? What do you
Oh
want?
yeah, well we were just talking about languages. What was the first language that
Mhm.
you read Harry Potter in? Did you read it in Afrikaans first
So
or
I read
English?
the first 4 books in Afrikaans.
Hmm.
So a friend of my mother said to me, "Oh, I've got this book." 'Cause, like I love reading, but I read mostly Afrikaans books. And she was like, "Oh, I've got this book about this boy and his 4 friends, or like his friends, and
Yeah.
they like have adventures in a castle." And I'm like, "Yes, give it to me." So then I read the first 2 books like immediately after each other,
Mm-hmm.
and then the third book in Afrikaans as well, and then the fourth one. And I think that those were the only ones that were published. And then the
Yeah.
fifth one came out, and I'm like, I'm not going to wait for it to be translated.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, yeah. So I bought those. That was my first one I owned myself, was the fifth one. And then by then my sister started reading them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then also some of my friends. And then, but also in Afrikaans. And then me and my sister shared books. Like I would read first,
Hmm.
and then she would read it. And then, but the sixth one she read first, and then I read it. And then the seventh one,
Hmm.
it's also in English. Yeah. So
Are,
we also like, I think for the seventh one, I heard Katie and you guys discussing the midnight release parties,
yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah.
quite cool.
Yep.
So I think we had one for the last book. And then all of my friends went to that. We lived outside of town, so like a
Mm-hmm.
half an hour drive, so we didn't
Hmm.
go to all that stuff. But they all went to that, and they I think they had to like register to get books beforehand. And they stood in queues for hours and hours and hours. And then I just went to grocery shopping with my mother the next day. I walked into like a different shop, walked in, there were like a pile of books. I got my book, walked out,
Are
started
you kidding
reading
me?
in the car.
That's incredible. You didn't have to wait in the line
And
at
they were like,
all.
I don't have my book yet. I'm still in the queue. And I'm like, I literally got it in 5 minutes.
It was crazy to me when the seventh book was released. It was literally everywhere. I remember walking into supermarkets and it was there, like books, like stores that never sold books had copies of Harry Potter,
Mm.
and it was like,
I mean, like, it was next to the instant coffee, like
yeah,
literally
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pile of books. Yeah.
Yep, you can get your instant
So
coffee and you can buy Harry
yeah,
Potter and read it.
and like your energy drink after that. Because I read the last book. I got it the morning, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because my mom went to like an insane person, went to the shops at 8 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, yeah.
And then so I got my book, started reading in the car. She did like grocery shopping, went home, read it, finished it at 3 a.m., went to my sister because she was still awake. I don't know
Yeah.
why. Then I was like, it's so sad. But yeah, start reading. And I think she started reading the first couple of chapters and then said, okay, no, she's going to go to bed. But yeah, so then she read it and then I reread it
Yeah, of
after that.
course.
So
Yeah.
then I like really to sink it in. I just wanted to know what happened.
I know.
I
Yeah.
couldn't wait.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's like always a conundrum between I feel like people who are reading it. Most people just want to know what happens and they speed read through it. For a lot of others, like for a lot of friends that I have, they've read through the series and it just took them a long time to finish the last book because they just didn't want it to end. So I feel like it's but the best. Like you want to know what happens, but you also don't want to leave the world yet. It's like a weird conundrum.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the other day because we didn't like, because I lived outside of town, we didn't have like internet access close at our house.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really have cell phone signal. Like later on we got. Um, but I mean, like I never did like the fan theory thing, like discussions of what would happen. So like literally everything was a surprise for me. Like I also
Yeah.
consumed the story. Didn't I like? I think I can't remember if I reread the books in between. I don't think so.
Okay.
So I think I was reading other stuff. So I had like everything was a surprise to me. I didn't like think
That's
of
so fun.
anything in between. Was thinking, okay, what can this be? What can it? And me and my sister discussed the past book, but we didn't discuss on
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
we think was going to happen next. So I'm thinking, what is the best way to experience it? To just consume the story
Yeah.
and everything is a surprise, or
Yep.
like discuss it with someone and then accidentally spoil something for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
But
Such a good
now I'm
question.
like living, so I've got like best of both. Like I just experienced it, like just experiencing it, and then
Mm-hmm.
also everything is a surprise. But now I also got fan theories later on in
Yep.
life
Yeah.
with you guys.
Honestly, I feel like that's one of the best ways to relive it because I think if you're reading a story, sometimes it's better to read a story like unadulterated without like anyone else like bringing you theories or something, where you can just purely enjoy the story. That's why people who read it now, you can like speed read through it and just get the purity of the story. But there's also a sense of like the community that's around it, which made it so fun to read. And even like the stuff that we're kind of generating, it's like people just talking about fan theories and fan fiction and like what they think in between the books. I still remember tons of different fan theories that were happening in between the books, because I wasn't like crazy involved. I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But I would like go onto some of these websites all the time and like see what some people were saying. And I didn't like go too deep into it, but I still remember in between book 6 and 7, the one that always stuck out to me was everyone thought McGonagall was a double agent. And I remember that just stuck in my head for the whole 7th book. So it messed up my reading of the 7th book a little bit, because I'm looking for context clues of McGonagall being a double agent, where I like didn't enjoy some of the small details. I was just like drawn into McGonagall, you know?
But it's so sad for me now that RAB is like spoiled for them, sort of,
I
because they
know.
already figured it out. And I'm like, no,
I know.
Irish. I'm just like, what? Because
I
I
know.
completely forgot about it. Like,
Yeah, that was such a good one,
then.
because it's briefly mentioned in like the 5th book or something like that,
But
and then
obviously
it comes
you're
back.
right.
Yeah, Danny's literally writing down every name that ever comes up in Harry Potter, so of course he's gonna have all the R's.
I've got a friend, and she's like that. She will be like, but I need to know what happens.
Yeah.
So she'll read like the end, or she'll go on the internet, spoil everything for herself. Okay, now I know what happens. I know it's a happy ending, but now I can, enjoy the journey there. But I want to know.
Sometimes I feel like you're not enjoying the journey. You're just like studying through the text. I'm like, I don't know how enjoyable that sounds, you know?
But that's why I enjoy Abby so much. I think she reads books the same way I do, like just to be consumed and be like get lost in the story. No like predictions and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I do enjoy the predictions.
Yeah. Later reader. I don't think she's going to give a ton of predictions, to be honest. I think she'll give a few here and there about like endgame stuff with like each book, but it's not going to be like Jen and Danny who are coming up with all sorts of things. 100%. Yeah. Like Abby, she's just interested in the characters. She's just interested in like, what these characters, what the makeup of the character is. Like, yeah, it's such a more intriguing read.
True.
And I have like a few other friends also who are gonna read the series, and they're kind of the same. Like one of my friends will get super into like kind of like Danny, like study everything, and the other two are just like, I just want to read this and enjoy a story. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
When did you first?
I've written down.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I've written down some of the. Like, it was so funny to me. I like researched it today, like the Afrikaans names for the books.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what's the difference between translations?
So Afrikaans, you have to know, is like a language that we sometimes literally translate the word. So the first one is Harry Potter and in die tovenaar se steen, which is literally Harry Potter and the Wizard's Stone. You can translate it.
They're not leaving any room for any confusion there.
Yeah, so the rest was like basic translations, but the last one is Harry Potter in die skatte van die dood, which is like the treasures of death.
Wow, that's actually a fascinating idea. The treasures of death. So, what do you guys call the mark? Is the mark that people like tattoo on their bodies? Is that called the treasures of death mark? I
assume. I read the last 3 books in English. I just like researched the titles today, so I think I assume die skatte van die dood. Yeah.
And is Voldemort's name still Voldemort?
Yeah, it's Voldemort, but with a W.
Oh, okay.
With a W.
That's kind of cool.
So I researched like translations of names. So most of them are like normal, and some of them are funny, but the 3 most hilarious ones it's hilarious for me as an Afrikaans person, which is Hermione's name is Hermine, which is such a trashy Afrikaans name.
Oh no.
Why would you do this to this poor girl? And then Luna is Mania Goedlief, which is not even like
what?
And then
where did they get that?
I don't know. And like Goedlief is Dutch, actually. Like I've got a friend whose name is Goedhart, which is like you've got a good heart. Like that literally translates to that. But that's the Dutch name. And then Moaning Myrtle was Katrijn Karmkous, which is also a trash name. So I'm
I like the sound of that name though in Afrikaans. It's like a cool sounding name.
it's so funny. I'm like, wait.
One of my favorite things, I think Vox did a video about this a few years ago, like the Harry Potter and the Translator's Nightmare, and they showed like how Harry Potter's just translated differently in different languages. Even with the when he writes his like "I am Lord Voldemort" in the air, and how different translators like do that. I think that's so fascinating.
I tried to look it up to see how they changed it, but I don't think Afrikaans books are published anymore. I'm not sure. So
no way, really.
I think it's mostly English. Like I've got quite a nice bookstore close to my house, and I've looked there. Yeah, I haven't seen them. I think maybe if you order them online.
Yeah. I'm sure you can probably order it in any language. They probably have it like back stored somewhere, and they just like print on demand or something.
Yeah, but basically, the cover art and everything was the same as the UK.
Okay. Yeah. That's really cool. When did you start reading the series?
How did I start reading it?
Or when? Like, how old were you when you started?
So I was 13.
Okay.
So
that's perfect.
So I was in grade, I'm trying to say 8. So that's like beginning of high school for us. So we don't have a middle school. So we've got primary school from 1 to 7, and then we've got from 8 till 10.
Okay.
So so I was 13.
I feel like that's typical for everywhere except for the States. It's like the States is like we just do things. We're a little weird here.
So they've changed it a lot now, but when I was still in school, I'm quite older now. So when I was still in school, we still followed the UK way of like British school system. Yeah. Also.
When did you? How?
Prefect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That all the British boarding school stuff is stuff that goes over Americans' head. Like I never understood what a head boy was or prefects, or like why they felt a need for any of that kind of stuff. Like in America, we have like student government, which is different for like your colleges. You have like your president and your like vice president, your secretaries, all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit different over here.
Head boy, head girl, and then a deputy head girl. Deputy head boy, and then the prefects under them.
Yeah, even like the housing system is like foreign to all of us. It's just like weird why you'd be sorted to a house and.
Yeah, we don't have that. Like our government schools are like we follow the UK school, so we also have like uniforms and stuff like that. So with all our schools, and then the private schools are just like smaller.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. How many times have you read the series?
Too many times to count.
You just lose count after a while.
Yes, definitely once a year I'll read the whole series, but sometimes I'll read like random books, like in the series, and read them in order. I've read the last one, I think, the most.
Okay, wow, that's actually surprising.
Sometimes when I feel like, I just want some Harry Potter, I'll read the last one, but only from the chapter where Neville. Like I start reading where Neville comes out of the portrait, and I'll read the end. Yeah. I won't read the whole book. But since I started listening to the podcast, I'll do the audiobook, the Stephen Fry one.
Yep.
And then I'll
Stephen Fry. All you come out foreigners like.
So then I'll I don't think Jim Dale is available yet. So I'll read the chapters that you guys are doing, and then I'll continue reading or like listening. Yeah. And then I'll go back to the chapters that you guys are doing. So I think this year I've already re-listened.
Yeah. There's a few people doing that. A few people are like listening with us, and they read the chapters, and then as soon as they're finished, they reread the chapters. It's like you're reading it like 3 times this year alone.
So when you guys did Half-Blood Prince, I was listening to Half-Blood Prince, but I was reading Order of the Phoenix, and then I was also like I listened to the chapters that you guys were doing, but I was listening to the whole series from the beginning, and I was reading physically the book Order of the Phoenix. So yeah,
that's the best. It's such a comfort story too, like especially like now that you've read it like 20 30 times, however many times all of us have read it, you can just like pick it up at any point and just there's so much fun, there's so much joy behind it.
And also the way you read it, like the first time was just the imagination of it all, and the magical world and all that stuff, and now it's like you look for the deeper meaning of everything, and everything changes, like obviously like how you see everything
Yeah. And like what phase
So
of life that you're in and like the things that you're going through and how you read it differently from a kid to an
definitely.
adult. Like that's why I'm really excited because I'm trying to get my niece to do this when she turns 11, and I'm so excited to see it from like a kid's perspective again of what they think of the story. Cuz like I'm just interviewing adults and we're all like millennials and we're geeking out about Harry Potter cuz we grew up with it. But like for like a younger, you know, like teenager to start picking up this book and what they glean from it, how it would be different from what an adult gleans from it. That to me is really fascinating.
My nephew is 7 months old, so I'm thinking, when can I start?
Yeah. You can read it to them. That's like the best. I can't
Yeah.
wait to like I love doing that, reading stories to like my nieces and
Yeah.
nephews. It's the absolute best.
My sister is also a big Harry Potter fan, so I think
Yes.
we're gonna fight on who introduces him to the world.
Now, what house are you in and what house is your sister in?
I don't know what I actually asked her the other day. She never answered me, but
Hmm.
I'm in Gryffindor.
Okay.
I was actually I was thinking when it was still Pottermore, when
Yep.
it was a desk, I was part of it, and I was Hufflepuff then. But when I
Yeah.
housed or whatever, yeah, I was Gryffindor. Yeah.
Yeah, sorting is a Gryffindor. That was the same. Mine was opposite. When it was the desk, I was Gryffindor, and then it resorted me into Hufflepuff. I'm very happy.
Okay.
I like my Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Yeah.
Is Wagadu as big of a thing in Africa? Like Ilvermorny is not a
Um,
huge thing in America, but some people have pride in Ilvermorny.
I think because you guys get sorted as or like the American
Yeah,
school gets sorted as well. I think it might be bigger. I don't if there was a sorting for the African
yeah,
house, we all would freak out as well. It's also in Uganda, so that's quite far.
yeah, for sure. It's like halfway across a continent, so yeah.
So
But Wagadu, we always mention on some podcasts doing wandless magic. That's pretty cool. You know,
that's awesome.
there's
Yeah. It makes
distinctives for
sense
each
though.
school that yeah they're fun.
So I don't know if so we actually like in our some of the traditions in our country, we do have witch doctors and stuff like that. So that's
It's
actually a
crazy.
traditional thing. So I can understand why,
Yeah,
why they do want this magic.
I've been to a few different spots in Africa, and that's kind
Mm,
of where they were mentioning some of that kind of stuff,
mm,
like that
mm,
some of these places in like I guess more remote countries have some of these witch doctors, and I'm
yeah,
like how that fits in with some of the magical world is
mm,
fascinating to me. I would love for her to
mm.
flesh out each of these schools. Give me like
Well, they like
7 books
so
for each school.
balance and stuff around.
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna give you the impossible task of ranking the books.
I wrote them down. I
Okay,
thought
good.
I might find them. Okay, so do I start at the bottom
Yeah,
or
start at 7.
Philosopher's Stone?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
My least favorite one.
Really, Philosopher's Stone.
Um,
Okay, interesting.
just the only reason is the way I read it. So I think that makes a big difference. So like I literally closed the book, opened Chamber of Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, they were basically one book.
Yeah,
So when I do a reread, I don't usually do Philosopher's Stone that
yeah.
much. Like I think that's the book I've reread the least,
Okay.
just because they're sort of one story for me. So because Chamber of Secrets gets into the world quicker and
Yeah,
into the mystery part quicker, like I like that book more. But the Mirror of Erised is just like one of the best chapters. So
yeah.
so it's sort of a fight between those two, but like I have to put
It's also fun
yeah.
rereading this so many different times and seeing which chapters stand out to you at different times.
Mm,
Like I've always loved the Mirror of Erised chapter, but on this reread with Danny and Jen, rereading that
mm,
chapter, I was like, this is some of the best writing that she's ever had. Like what she packed into that chapter. So it's tough because Philosopher's Stone is probably like my second least favorite, but the Mirror of Erised chapter might be one of my favorites in the entire series. I love it.
yeah, it's good. And then I've got okay, so then 7 is Philosopher's Stone. Okay, Sorcerer's Stone for you guys. And then Chamber.
Okay.
And then Order of the Phoenix. It
Yeah.
was very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Order of the Phoenix. Although I think I mentioned this on the Discord. It's got like one of my favorite sessions is the Department of Mysteries. I
Yeah.
would read an entire series about just that.
Yes.
Like that was literally I like when they went in. I think like the first time I read it, like when they went in there, like and explored some of the rooms, I stopped and then I went back and read that part again.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
That was a
yeah,
part for me. When I read that part, I loved it so much. And anytime I have like foggier memory of certain parts of Harry Potter, it's
mm,
because I wanted to read it so fast and like get to like figure out what was going on. But that was one of the parts I read so fast. And I was so confused by what was happening. So I reread it a second time immediately after I finished. And I was like, what are all these rooms?
The battle scene when they already got the prophecy. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I have to like imagine the rooms and what they're going through, what door now, and what, like the doors and all that stuff. So that was confusing. But what I like about that book, okay, obviously the them standing up to Umbridge, and like also she's just one of the best villains ever. Like I think Katie also mentioned it. It's like you want to reach into the book and strangle her.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, oh, so irritating. So that's why I find it so difficult because sometimes I love this book more than Goblet, but for now.
Yeah. The rankings are always in flux. Every time you reread it, the rankings change.
But I love what I love about Phoenix the most is just like Harry just wants to be normal.
Yes.
Like, it's like,
and he can't be.
I love I know everybody gets irritated with Harry and Phoenix, but like I just love it. It's so normal, such a normal reaction to just to see someone die in front of you.
Oh my
gosh.
Hectic,
like really hectic experience, and I don't think people thank goodness don't understand. Most people don't understand what that feels like, but
and that's why I love how he connects with Luna in that whole book too. Like we'll gush about these forever, but like how he's really able to connect with Luna and like experience deeper things because of the things that he went through. And I feel like that's a time when he realizes that he's the chosen one, and he's kind of he's like accepted that, not quite accepted that yet, but he still just wants to be a teenage kid. He still just wants to live life. He still just wants to go like on dates with Cho and like live an enjoyable life, play Quidditch. Yeah, seriously.
And no one knows about it.
I know, exactly. I know.
And then, so then I've got Goblet.
Okay. Fire. That's surprising. Usually people, I feel like Goblet's becoming like a divisive book. I feel like some people rank it their highest one, and some people aren't huge on it. But
I can't remember my reason. I was thinking about it today, but now I forgot about it. I mean, like the end with Molly, like him and Mrs. Weasley, like just that hug. Oh, so sad.
I know. So sad. Such a good part.
Why? I think my reread, it's better for me because when he was fighting with Ron, I was just like, why are they fighting? And now I'm like, okay, there is an end to their fighting. So it's better for me now. Like I didn't like it because of that.
Yeah.
And then I've got a friend, and she cried her eyes out when Cedric died. Like she couldn't read the series. Like she was like, "No, I'm taking a break from Harry Potter. Like I can't cry like that." Because she was like, "I know this is just gonna get worse."
Yeah.
So she.
It's a devastating part. It's like and one of my favorite things too is the beginning when Ferenz says, "Always the innocent are the first to suffer," or something like that, and then Cedric is really one of the first people to die. In the series, like so innocent, and he dies, and it's just tragic.
I like Cedric now. I can't remember liking him in the first time I read it.
Yeah, like, the same.
I was like, okay, this is a random person that's dying. But
yeah. He's like a school champion. He's like a great guy, but he's like dead, and you're like, okay, that's not crazy. But now I read it, and like every time I read it, I'm like, Cedric, no.
I know. Okay, and then I've got Prisoner of Azkaban. Sorry. Excellent. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, so then I've got Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay.
Which is just like everything changed. What I liked about that book the most was like every chapter was like a surprise. Like I was like, what? Like I was surprised by every chapter.
Yes.
I remember reading, when they go to the fat lady in the portrait, and they were just, when Peeves comes in, he's like, he's got a bad temper that's Sirius Black, and I was just like, what? And
one of the best
like,
cliffhangers to a chapter ever.
After this, and then also it also changed the format of her writing, because you sort of expect her writing's going to be, there's a challenge, or a mystery, and then at the end it's going to be like sort of a challenge, and then Harry's going to get through this and a happy ending.
Yep.
Fine. And then the second one is because the same sort of, the mystery and then challenge, and then this one just changes how she writes. And then also those last chapters were just like surprise after surprise after surprise. I mean, like my brain can't handle this anymore. My brain and my heart like can't handle
I still remember rereading Prisoner and being halfway through and getting to the point that we were at where I'm like, the story should be literally wrapping up in like 2 chapters. You're like, how does this go on for another full book? Yeah.
It wraps up and then it like,
Yeah.
with the time travel, like the reverse, and then it wraps up again.
Yep.
And just like this pet that we thought was like, oh, someone's pet and it's so nice, it's like an animal, and he's the bad guy after all this time, and he's the reason
Yeah.
Harry's parents are. It's like that was just like the biggest shock, I think, for the series for me.
I
Still,
know, yeah.
After that, you sort of expect you're gonna be shocked.
Yeah.
So that's why Goblet. I mean, like it's difficult for Goblet because. Yeah, I sort of between those two because especially like the whole Barty Crouch Jr. thing. I mean, that's just like, like one of the biggest like and creepiest like twists in the plot that I've ever. Sorry, I just need to pick up my dog and he's gonna...
You're okay. Don't worry.
He might make an appearance.
No, yeah. Your dog can make any appearance. That's great. We would love it. Is this Dexter?
Yes. Nero's on the floor. Like, he's guarding his toilet paper. He's like obsessed with toilet paper rolls, so he's guarding that, like, so that no one gets close to it. So that's why, just like that whole twist, and also that this person that we actually liked, like Moody, like this, we really liked him. He's fake, but he was also real because he like fooled Dumbledore that no one actually knew he was the fake one.
Yeah, so that's one of the greatest ruses in the whole book, that this guy was actually able to fool everyone, including Dumbledore. That blows my mind.
And that's just like amazing.
Yeah, even in the third book, one of my favorite parts of the third book, and what I released this as a podcast episode, is when Danny had the slow realization. He was sending me voice memos, and he had the slow realization that Peter, the rat, was Peter Pettigrew. And then I released that as like a full episode, and that's our least listened to episode. But to me, it's so fun because like I feel like all of us experienced that. There was a point where in the books where like right before the actual reveal, we're like, no way, hold on, this is really happening. Peter Pettigrew is the rat. It's like,
I just think I consumed the book so fast, like there was no time to think of anything what's happening.
Yeah.
And then my first 2 spots is very difficult because they're basically equal. But with 1% winner is the Deathly Hallows.
Okay. All right. So Half-Blood Prince is 6, and then second.
Yeah, second.
Deathly Hallows first.
It's very difficult. Like I've listened to Half-Blood Prince a lot because I shared an Audible with my sisters, and at one point that was the only book that we had on there, so I listened to that like on repeat. And then because I personally love documentaries, and especially about serial killers. Like I don't know why, what is about me, but like I love that. It just fascinates me, and this is the closest to a serial killer documentary of the series. And Voldemort really reminds me of Ted Bundy. Like I don't know if you've ever watched any
super
documentaries
charming
about him,
but
and he actually the actor they got to play him in Chamber of Secrets like looks a lot like Ted Bundy for me.
So
like,
creepy.
He resembles him. I always laugh when Jen says like, why do people follow Voldemort? But like like when you look at documentaries about Ted Bundy, like when he had his court cases, there were people dressing up as his victims sitting in the courtroom. That's insane.
That's like so strange to me.
Like women dressing up like his victims because he always had like the dark hair.
Yeah.
He
had like the
victims,
type.
And it's and then they would dress up like he had like fans.
Yeah, it's like such a good point. Like, where does people's minds go that they think that's okay? Like, why do people follow Voldemort? It's like,
and like no one is born evil. Okay, maybe Voldemort is the exception. But like, why? How charming does someone have to be to convince you to go against your like natural way of being?
Yeah.
So
it's such a that is the strange thing. The last 2 books of this are especially like it's like a serial killer documentary. It's like figuring out about how this guy ticks and like his memories and like what made him this way. It's so good.
That's why I hated the 6th movie because I mean you missed like such a big and just like I mean how interesting the movie could actually be. I mean like I like that they went more into the like teenage romance thing.
Yeah.
It was more romantic comedy than anything else.
Yeah. I think there's a remake of that movie on YouTube, and they just made it a rom-com. Like they did like a 4-minute trailer, and it's just a rom-com.
And then, number one is definitely Hallows. Oh, I just love that book. I think I might be one of the only people, but I love the camping chapters.
I don't know why people hate that so much.
Give me Harry's inner thoughts.
Yeah.
Any day. Like I would read, it is just amazing. And I'm stealing this from Benjamin, but just like how they were discussing this, like her writing that like we see everything out of Harry's perspective and like we're in his mind, but by the end of the book we're like in his like every being, like we're in his fibers, like just how he like appreciates his body and stuff like that. It's just like amazing.
Yep. I saw this video the other day that was, to me, one of the coolest takes that I've ever seen, is that in the entire series you're so connected to Harry. And every thought that he has is the thoughts that you're having. You're like, okay, you're learning things with Harry. But there's one point in the very end of the series that like I can't wait to get there. When they're circling each other, there's a point where Harry knows something and the readers don't know it yet, which is like the grand end of the story. And then finally it gets revealed and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the first time like Harry has known something before us, but it's like the very end. So it just makes perfect sense. But you're so right. The things that he's feeling in Deathly Hallows, like you feel alongside of him. You don't just think with him. You're like, okay, this, I remember reading the 7th book for the first time. Like in my head, I'm like, I want to go after the Hallows. That's like what we should go after. And then when he's making that decision at Shell Cottage, I remember sitting there being like, he has to go after the Horcruxes. That's what he has to do. And he makes that decision. And it's like, it goes from that point. It's so great.
One of my all-time favorite lines is in that chapter where he makes the decision. And I don't know actually why, but it's like the Dumbledore in his head was smiling when he was like, and I'm just like,
that's
I can
so
just
good.
imagine Dumbledore. Like, I just like,
yeah, that's so good. I can't wait for the series too, because I hope they like figure out how to do certain things like that. Like I don't know how they would do that without it maybe looking cheesy, like Dumbledore's like a little silhouette over his face smiling or something like that. But like they should,
they can do like a flash, like sort of a you have to pause it to actually
for sure.
And I would love a bottle episode where it's just like where they show what happened to Sirius's brother, or
oh my gosh,
like just like, and what actually happened that he decided that he doesn't, he needs to destroy this Horcrux. Like what made that turning point for him? I would love to know that.
Honestly, like every once in a while shows do this where they do like what looks like a throwaway episode, but it's sometimes they're like great. And I would love if the series did that, where you're like in Harry's perspective for the entire thing, but there's this one story all of a sudden it starts off in like the cave and you don't know where the heck it's going, and there's this character that you don't know at all, and it's like Creature's tale, but it's like Creature's not the one telling the tale. It's like the story is just happening. Come on, HBO. HBO, hire us. Come on.
They can hire the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Seriously, they'll hire the podcast. I'll outsource everything to the whole community here. We'll be good. We'll be perfect.
But what you were saying about the laws when they're circling each other, it's almost like the connection between us and Harry broke when he died. Like it's sort of written like that. And I would love to know your thoughts. Like I listened to a different podcast as well, where they were discussing, and the one girl was saying like, no, it's all in, like everything is happening is in his head. It's not really. So I always read it like he's sort of in limbo. And then like he actually meets Dumbledore. It's like really Dumbledore, and they discuss, King's Cross, like they discuss everything. But she was saying no, it's all in his head because everything he knows is something that he could have figured out. Like the whole discussion is something he could have figured out for himself, and he just sort of is having a conversation with himself. So what do you think?
I'm more of it's in the limbo state. I think those things are things that he probably could have figured out, but I think they're so deep in his subconscious that he probably would have given a lot of time. But I think it's a more compelling story that he's like in limbo, actually having that conversation with Dumbledore. And like Dumbledore, like to me, Dumbledore like went to meet him there. Like that was his specific purpose. Like the whole end goal of Dumbledore was to meet Harry in King's Cross, give him the whole download, let him know what happens. And in that story too, Harry is really coming to the realizations himself, because Dumbledore, he like he like tells Harry certain things, and or Harry's like, oh, okay, this makes sense for that. And then he's equipped with all the stuff that Dumbledore has given him. So then he's actually able to go back and like defeat. But I'm probably along the same lines as you. I think it's like more of a limbo state. And then one that I hate that some people sometimes say is that Harry actually is just dead, period. And when he's going back, it's just like that part of the book is just a
no.
Yeah, and I'm like it's such a terrible theory to me when people come up with that one. Because I'm like, there's no point in the books then. It's like everything's just happening in his head at that point. Yeah.
I don't understand die skatten van die dood.
yeah. I know. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I can't remember what I want to say. You can
do you have a favorite? We're talking about a lot of favorite moments, but do you have like an all-time favorite moment? Or if that's too hard of a question, do you have a favorite moment in each book?
Oh, yes. Oh, but definitely Hallows, definitely that last chapter.
Yeah.
I love Godric's Hollow. I think like also when the first time I was reading that, like I would go back and sort of reread the like the inscriptions on the
on the
tombstones
tombstones
and stuff like that. I would reread that, and this always makes me cry when he stands like by their graves and says like they were lying under the ground and not knowing that he was standing outside, like wishing he was with them. Oh,
it's one of the saddest lines of the whole series.
Why don't you just take my heart and like?
I know.
And
again, one thing. Yeah. One thing that I love too about the series is how understated it is. Like she doesn't need to just over explain that. She doesn't need to have like 5 paragraphs about like, a super dramatic about like Harry just wanting to like be with his parents who are underground. And she just says like, his parents didn't know that he was five feet away. And, that's such a perfect line right there.
His mental state at that moment, because I mean, that was still when Ron was away. So,
yeah.
And I also love that he sort of just experienced that with Hermione because she's his emotional friend.
Yep.
And his emotional support. I think just like his mental state at that moment, and it's such a like he was so depressed.
Yep.
At that moment, like he was.
That was
just
the lowest of low.
Just like the lowest point, and just but he needed that to do what he did at the end, and it's just like if he wasn't there, and if they didn't have the camping and like all that inner discovery of who he is, I don't think he would have done what he did at the end. But just that last chapter, that forest again, is just the most. And I can remember. Oh no, tear up now. I remember like the emotional roller coaster of like, Dumbledore, you gonna curse piece of shit. Like,
yes.
How did you do this?
Yes. Oh my God.
So mad at him, and I'm like, how? Like I liked you, and like I was defending you, and how are you doing this? And then just like the roller coaster, and then like liking him again at the end, like it was so.
Those chapters were the most emotional roller coaster, and some people make when people talk about like what her best written book is, honestly, the more I read the series, the more I think Deathly Hallows is probably her best written one, because it's like it shakes up the genre of writing in a weird way. Like in typical writing, that people always talk about like the rising tension and how everything feels with that. In this one, in Deathly Hallows, it almost feels like the opposite. It almost feels like Harry just gets more and more depressed and like less and less willing to actually like find this. You're like, he might give up literally at any point, and then every moment that happens, he has like a little bit of a rising thing that happens to him. Like he sees his parents' grave, but then like Ron abandons him right before that, so he's literally at his lowest of low points at that point, and then he like gets a slight boost, but then he falls off because like the snake gets him, and he's like in peril right now. He's like in Malfoy Manor, and then he like small little things come jumping up and until it gets like to that lowest point. And the same thing with Dumbledore. You're in such flux. I love that Danny was like, no, I fully trust Elphias Doge's column rather than Rita's. And I was like, oh man, just wait, like Harry is gonna have some Harry's gonna have some issues when he keeps reading this, and when he finally reads that book, and your opinions of him change so much until like especially the Princess Tale is one of my favorite chapters, because Harry leaves that thinking like, Dumbledore, he's a jerk. Like he set me up for this whole thing, but he's willingly going to it. And then you realize, okay, Dumbledore isn't quite that bad. It's like it's just a masterclass in writing. It's so good.
Yeah, and that was also like, I mean, that was planned from book 4. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
Dumbledore knew he would survive. Like,
Yeah.
he guessed that he would survive. I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah, but that writing, like from the first word of that chapter to the last one, like, and just like how he thinks Jenny, like his last like thought in this world was Jenny. Like,
I know.
Oh man, it's so
She's
sad.
she is such an excellent writer.
When he discusses that he will give like his last minutes to see Hermione and Ron again, but like if he sees them again, he won't be able to do this. Oh, it was just.
It's exceptional writing. It's such good writing.
So good.
Because you feel that. You feel that so deeply with him. You're like, you don't want to look at the characters again, because if you look at the characters as like a reader, you're like, I won't be able to leave them, and it's the same exact thing. You feel exactly what Harry is feeling. It's like, it's devastating. It is absolutely devastating.
And then I just love in Deathly Hallows. I actually love there's a lot of, but like the wedding was also like so cool for me. I'm like, oh, that was just so.
Yeah, we're gonna live read that on tomorrow morning. Actually,
okay, cool.
So
okay, great. Okay, so that will be afternoon for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll see if I can join. Yeah, so Half-Blood was basically all the memories, but the cave was just.
Yeah, that is still
so
my
good.
all-time favorite chapter. I think that is the best written chapter.
So creepy.
I know.
And like I also like, I know that Danny picked up on this, but like I completely missed, or I forgot that Malfoy disarmed him. Like I forgot that. Like
because it's meant to be forgotten, because it happens so quick.
So
like
shocked.
Yep. Yeah, because it really does. She's a great writer because those details are meant to be forgotten. But because Danny is literally taking notes on every last point in the book, he's like not going to forget this. But he is. That point is completely meant to be forgotten.
And I think, just the whole part of the Dumbledore's death, like how Harry deals with grief. It was just the way she writes grief is just.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, you can see.
I know. I think. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's probably the best thing that she wrote is she knew grief really well. One of my favorite lines, because I think this sums up like the terror and fear of this really well, is Slughorn talking about all the different potions in the room. And then he talks about Amortentia and all these other super dangerous potions are there. But he says this one line, and it's in the movies too, that out of all the potions here, Amortentia creates like great infatuation or obsession. And for that reason, it's probably the most dangerous potion in this room. And there's something about that I think Jo knew the power of that because she was in an abusive relationship, and just a small little thing like that. It is one of the most terrifying experiences to be a part of that. It's absolutely awful when someone's like, stalking or harassing or anything like that they're involved in that. And just like a small little detail on that and the grief behind any of that and how she includes, thestrals and things, what the mentors mean, like the deeper meaning behind all those things. I think she's one of the best writers of grief. As far as like just fiction, as far as a character really understanding and coming to terms with her grief.
But it also makes sense that the main villain comes from a product of that abusive thing that you used. So it makes sense. Good.
Another thing that I like to is like I think she said in another like offshoot interview that even if he was the offshoot of this terrible love potion, but even if like the mother stuck by and the father stuck by, he wouldn't have had really like difficulties. And I'm like, your upbringing matters a lot. It's like she's such a good writer. She's such a great writer.
But I mean, like then it comes to Harry that also has like a bad upbringing, and he is just good.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's like in Order of the Phoenix, where he's like so upset or like so moody teenager, basically typical just being a teenager. It's like no one showed him how to deal with emotions. He doesn't have an example at all for his informative years of his life, like how to deal with stuff like this. So so I mean, like he dealt with it so good. Like I know adults that can't even deal with like me being one of them, but yeah, like can't even deal with it.
Yeah. Yep. Like Harry is more emotionally mature than all of us. We always like rag on him. He's like, you know, he's got to learn this, he's got to learn that. But the emotions that he experienced in book 5 and how he's able to like have actual maturity to deal with those things, and he kind of just learns that on his own, is remarkable.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment in any of the other books?
Oh, other books. I'm going through my list. Okay, so Phoenix. Oh, yeah, just the grieving of the Sirius. Oh, I think Sirius's death hit me like so.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my sister was so upset about this, and she was like, she read an interview where JK was saying like she just killed a man, and my sister's like, okay, but why did you do it? Like, can't you just like rewrite it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is just like, oh, that whole but the I think like the whole Department of Mysteries section there is like, oh, so good.
Such good writing.
Goblet, I can't like it's so difficult to choose like a you know, a part that's like, but I love the whole unexpected task chapter where they have to get like dates. That's so funny for me. And then
and again, we talk about this on the podcast all the time, but like the switch that she has between like something crazy serious in one chapter to the next chapter, they're more afraid. He'd rather take on a dragon than try to ask Cho out on a date. I'm like, that is so relatable.
Travel impacts. Prisoner is just that whole reveal at the end where they do like, oh, and it's just like, you know, then they reveal, and just the Marauders, like the whole story of James is maybe not the best person in the world, but just like they did for their friend so that he wouldn't be alone. It's just amazing. And then like that whole story, and then it's like, and then Snape comes in and it's like, okay, what now? And then it's like, oh, this, and then it's just like, I can't deal with this, my anxiety. Like,
and that's why, again,
and I felt like Harry, like nothing's changed. Like this didn't help anything. Like,
I know. Yeah, 100%. You're like, you feel exactly what Harry feels in that moment. But again, one of my favorite things is how well she writes characters. We're like, I mean, this is one of the most famous lines in the book, but not everyone is split into good people and Death Eaters. And we were even talking about this in the Discord before, how like no character is truly pure. No character is like completely good. And I love how she writes James, specifically James, because James is like he's like a loser. He's like such an annoying bully. But also, you read certain parts and you're like, this guy was incredible to his friends. He was like one of the best friends that you can have. You want this guy in your corner. You don't want him against you. But like how you have to become an animagus is one of the craziest things ever. And he went through that for his friends, like dragged his friends along with him to do this. That's like,
and also he made friends with him.
Yeah.
Like I think they knew quite early on. Like this guy's dangerous. Like this is like, he sort of should have been shunned, but like you know, I think they part of them did it for the danger. I think they had like a bit of it into danger. They made friends with him and included him, and that's just amazing. But I mean, like we all go through that. Like there's some point in your life where like my parents are actually human. So
for sure. Yeah. Like I see those videos all the time.
Figure of your life is like, you know, they make mistakes as well. It's the same with Dumbledore. Like he makes mistakes.
I see these videos all the time now, like go easy on your parents. It's their first time living life too. And I'm like, it's so good. That's so true. You know, everyone's just trying to live life as best as they can.
And then Chamber, I think was and I must say, like, and this is my rereads. I just love Lockhart. Like he is so funny for me. Like hilarious. And I have Stephen Fry's voice. He's just got that whole celebrity. He just like sounds like a celebrity when he reads. Like the typical celebrity. And but the whole reveal at the end is like how? Like that. And then Philosopher's Stone was just like the mirror of Erised. That's amazing.
It's such a hard chapter to be. It's like it's one of the best in the whole series. I love it so much. Do you have a favorite character? Or like you can list a few, but okay.
Yeah, I like the normal, like the ones everyone loves is like Neville and Luna, obviously. But I think they're written in a way that everyone must love them. My favorite character is Harry. Like Harry is my favorite character. He is so wonderfully human.
Yeah.
And that's why I like him. Like he's our hero, and we get irritated with him because he doesn't act like a hero all the time.
Yeah.
Like, the typical story hero, and he's just like Harry. Like, that's why when people say they don't like him, I feel like I want to, fight for him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So it feels like a little brother that you just want to protect.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's such a good point.
like, and just that last book, like I said, like his depression, and just like the way he handles it is just like amazing. And
Yep.
and just like his courage at the end.
He is,
and he's very funny actually as well.
Yeah,
like,
I know. And the movie didn't make him funny at all. And he's hilarious in the books. Like when you actually read the books, he's making all sorts of snarky comments everywhere. He's so great in the books. He's
just like a good person.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's why, like, even at the end when he's at King's Cross, like Dumbledore praises him for just being a good person. Like he made the right decisions. He made all the right decisions that he needed to. Harry is like a very unexpected favorite character a lot, which is really strange because the whole story is about him. But especially in Order of the Phoenix, people hate him in Order of the Phoenix. Everyone's like, he's so grumpy, but that's actually one of the times I like Harry the most, because he's processing through these emotions. And like, yes, he's like angry. He's so frustrated at certain things, but he is that way because literally no one is giving him any information. Like he feels like he is completely abandoned and doesn't have any friends, and how he processes through that is like so human and so fascinating to me. She writes such a good character in Harry.
And also you can see his growth by the beginning of book 6, like after Sirius's death. Like he's learned from this. Okay, yeah, it is like dip, because like he said, like he was spending the last week in his room or whatever, when Dumbledore says you're handling it very well. But I mean, like, that's normal. He had to go through that. Otherwise, if he didn't do that, that would be like, okay, you're gonna blow up in the end. But so yeah. And I'm just like, Harry.
Yeah, he's a great character to love.
He's a great character. And I think like he became my favorite character later on. Like obviously in the beginning you were rooting for him and all that stuff, but so he became my favorite character, and just because of his, like I said, like you're so in his head, and then you are Harry by the end, basically, or you feel like you're supposed to. And that's just like good writing. But like, and then my adult favorite character is Lupin. I love Lupin.
My gosh, I
had such a crush on him. I was reading book 3. I'm like, when is he coming back?
Yes, 100%. When I read it now as an adult, he's such a good teacher. Like I got a crush on him because he's like legitimately one of the greatest characters in the entire series. He's such a good guy. He's like just a wise friend too. And he's like the Marauder that I love the most, because he was kind of like the voice of reason. Like so much crap happened to him when he was a kid. He got like, bit by a werewolf and is pretty much like living his life like that. And how he just endures that with a lot of grace and a lot of patience. He just seems like he's leaps and bounds wiser than a lot of other people in the story. And I love him for that. He's so...
He like through the story, like during the story, when Harry says something to me, you always say like Lupin will watch, and then like sort of you can see him processing stuff and then reacting or saying something. And I like that, because Harry needs that, because Harry is like react first, think later, what you're doing, and then which I think a lot of us are. And then I just love that he has that example of doing that in Lupin. So just like Lupin being the...
He's so freaking good. He's like such a great character. Yeah, I like how different characters also change from when you're an adult to when you're a kid. Neville,
obviously Neville and Luna and all, but I mean, if you don't like them, I think there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, 100%,
so I think they're written in a way that for them, that everybody loves them. So but I think Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, Harry.
And even you were saying like the Sirius death crushed you. When I was reading it for the first time, the death that crushed me the most was Fred's, because they were both my favorite characters. When I was reading it for the first time, and I was reading it as like a kid, they were so funny to me. Like I didn't realize like their brilliance until later on, but they were just like such good comedic relief. They were just like, living life, enjoying it, successful businessmen, like they were such great characters. They were so fun. And then
like from the toilet seat scene,
I know.
Like,
I know. It's so good.
And then sending it to Harry when he's in the in the hospital wing afterwards. Like they send him a toilet seat, and Dumbledore's like, "Oh, I think it would be funny to send you a toilet seat."
Yeah.
It's like,
There's so many good callbacks. They're such great characters. Even like how they figured out the Marauders map is just remarkable to me. They're great.
no, that's it.
And then when he
Racism,
died, I was
yeah.
devastated as a kid because they were like my favorite.
I remember that as well, but it just happened so quickly. But
Yeah.
like usually the reactions afterwards is the thing that makes you sad. But
Yeah.
his like his physical, like how she explained the death scene was sad for
Yeah.
him. And
Oh
it
my
also
gosh.
felt different than the others. Like, yeah, so now
Yeah.
his death,
So sad.
great. Why did you have to go?
Yeah, I know.
Gone
I
too
know.
soon.
And why did Lupin have to go? That's another devastating one.
Oh, that's
Lupin and
also, and
Tonks.
that it happened off screen is
I know,
the
it's even
worst.
worse. Like we
oh.
didn't, we weren't like there when it was happening. It's so
And
tough.
and they have such tragic lives.
I know.
I'm gonna be fascinated to know what Danny and Jen is gonna think about Wormtail's end.
Oh my gosh. Because Danny's been waiting for that to happen.
That's
He mentions
also
that anytime
so
he sees Wormtail, he's like, I can't wait for like his silver hand to come and like kill him, and like betray him.
revenge.
I know.
Yeah.
There's so many parts, like every chapter that we get to in Deathly Hallows right now, I'm excited for the one that comes after it because I'm like, Danny and Jen, they've been talking about these theories for so long. I'm so excited for them to see like different things happening in different chapters. It's going to be so fun.
It's gonna be amazing.
I know.
No, true.
Do you have any super hot takes for Harry Potter? Anything like any headcanon that you have or anything that's like out there?
I think it's a hot take more for the fandom, but I really don't actually mind Hermione like putting the sneak curse.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
I'm like, yes, go girl. This is war. There's no messing around.
Yeah.
I was like, I would like to think in my headcanon is that after the war it went away.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Good headcanon.
Anymore. I'm just like, if this was the real world and this was like a war, like you would have been assassinated.
Yeah. So sneak isn't so bad.
Like easily. It really doesn't bother me that much. And it also shows a different kind of a side of Hermione that she's grown up a lot and she knows like what's at stake.
Yeah, 100%. She knows the stakes. And that's a great point because like at the same point, you're like, oh, these are kids. How dare she do that to like another student? But at the same point, we're talking about Umbridge, who is literally torturing students, like Danny's favorite character over here, torturing students. And she's like, such an evil, vile woman. How Hermione deals with people who how she deals with Marietta, who Marietta essentially hands them over to like one of the most evil characters that literature has ever seen.
No.
You're like, good work, Hermione. You could have gone a little further.
she might have hinted more that something will happen when you sign this, and then you.
Yeah, for sure.
But maybe hinted a bit more, not tell them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But there's another point too where like you understand the stakes. If you're going to Dumbledore's army, like you have to understand this is like we're here to fight. We're here to like learn defensive magic. Like this is a serious thing. And if you don't take that seriously, then you're putting everyone else's life at risk, which they really are. Like she put everyone else's life at risk when she snitched on them because Umbridge, she's torturing students, but this could have been like, she could have sent them to like Azkaban. She could have like,
no, she would have like they at that point they didn't know she wasn't a Death Eater. Okay, it's expected she wasn't. She's just evil. But I mean, what if she was a Death Eater?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, that's why even in the fifth book, I'm like still there was parts of me that were like, Umbridge is almost too evil to feel like she's actually Umbridge. Part of me when I was reading the fifth book for the first time was like, is she gonna pull off the mask like Moody did, and is she gonna be like like Bellatrix Lestrange or something like that?
Well, but that's what I like about the series is that it's not just like the good and evil. There's also this middle, the Ministry. That's sort of like another piece of like evil that Harry needs to deal with.
Yeah,
that's also good.
There's so many layers to that. He's like battling so many different people in that book, and I will rant about that book because the fifth one is one of my favorites, and every time I reread the series, my ranking changes. But the fifth book consistently stays at top 3 for me, and I love it for that reason. Like in Harry's mind, right there, Like, I'm not necessarily like, a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I'm like, Harry is up against literally everyone in that book. It's like Harry and Dumbledore's army and the Order of the Phoenix are literally the only people in the wizarding world that truly support Harry, and like Neville's grandma, and that's it. Or Luna's dad. Like they're the only people that like truly support Harry and truly like him.
I know.
And Harry's up against everyone else, and how he stays to what he knows is true is a remarkable thing, because it's so easy to cave at that point. And it's so easy for your other friends as well to cave, like how people are staying true to Harry because they know who he is and because they know his character. Like if you're Harry's friend, like there's like, friends that we all have that were like, if they're sticking on to whatever they think is true, and I don't think it's necessarily true, you're like, I might back off. But his friends are just loyal to him, and they love him, and they stick by his side through thick and thin. And it's just, I love it so much.
And what I love about that book as well is that what you're saying now, he's standing up for himself and in what he believes in. And then also he does that, but being the effect it has on everyone else. Because Neville mentions that in book 7, where he says, I saw you when you stood up to Umbridge, that it helps other people.
Yes.
And like Neville was just watching him.
Yeah.
And it helped Neville become who he was at the end, because he said, I noticed like when you did it, like people would rally you also.
Yeah.
That's and just why, like, lead by example.
Yeah.
And like Harry didn't do it to say like, oh, this will help so that, other people will go, on my side or be on my side. He did it just so that, because that's what he believed in.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to lie. Yeah.
I know. He's sticking to his guns. He knows what he knows what he knows. He knows truth. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, how his influence goes over the entirety of this book. That's why, like, Harry is such a good character to love, like a great favorite character, because his influence, he influences Ron, Neville, Luna. He influences everyone in the book to become better and to stick to truth better and to like grow in their wizarding ways. He's fantastic.
And Harry, like in the first book where he gives the chocolate card, his last one, to Neville, and he's like, oh. I mean, I know it was
put in there
to get us to Nicholas Flamel, but I mean, like, he gives it and he tells him, like, you're worth something.
Yeah.
And you're
just
worth, like how
you're worth
that
12
helps.
of Malfoy.
Oh, Harry.
I know. So good. Such a great character. Yeah. Any other hot takes? That's a solid one. I like the sneak idea. Hermione is justified. She's also a little crazy in the books too, how she keeps Rita in the jar, the unbreakable jar.
She was releasing her afterwards.
Yeah,
also,
for sure.
Again, war.
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I know a lot of. I think I did put this on the subreddit. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Albus's name, Albus Severus, but I like it. Yeah. I don't know if you want to discuss the Snape of it all.
Yeah, 100%.
The character. Oh, I know. Just what a great character. Just like, how many years later, and people are still discussing, like, is he good? Is he bad?
Yeah.
Why do you like him? You shouldn't actually like him.
Because even the people in our community are so divided on it. Like, some people are very adamant that he's evil, he's a bully, he's like he's an abuser.
He's a horrible person.
Yeah,
I mean,
terrible
like,
person.
Not a good person.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's by the choices he made.
Yep.
And I think the greatest theme of the story is redemption. Like, it's never too late. Like, that it doesn't matter what path you go, if your best friend in the world, and that's what I feel like everyone is like, oh, the Lily relationship, it was obsessive and like more of a, like not a healthy relationship, or more of a, possessive over her. But I mean, like, that was his first and I think his only true friend. And I think, I mentioned this on the Discord, his only friend he's ever had. And like, I mean, he was like, like in the Death Eaters group, but like she said to him, like, you have to decide, like after his worst memory, that she said, like, I've chosen my side and you've chosen yours, and this is where we part. And I think that's also like a side episode that I would love to see, is what happened with Snape since he joined the Death Eaters until that moment when he goes to, like, did he kill someone? We don't know.
Yeah, seriously,
like, how dark did he go? And then to actually do the redemption and say that, okay, I'm going to go down the correct path now. You're not supposed to tell anyone, but I'm going to go down the road. And that line in the memory where where he finds out that Lily is dead, and Harry says like it sounded like a wounded animal, like him crying,
Yep.
and it's just that's so powerful. And then also, I mean, like, yeah, so just for him to decide, okay, his courage, and just, like, he could never let his guard down for a second, because then, the whole thing would have been messed up.
Yep.
Like, I mean, yeah, and like he was in the ranks, like on this, sitting next to Voldemort in that first chapter of the last book. I mean, yeah.
And you even talking
like,
about.
I must say that. Sorry.
Ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So the I must say, like, the most, like, I know everyone goes like Snape and Lily, but like the most interesting relationship is the Snape and Dumbledore relationship for me.
Oh my gosh,
like, that's like, you really like trusted him with, like, you can see like a true friendship and between them, and and him also feeling betrayed. Like, I was saving Harry.
100%. That's why Snape is such a fascinating character to me. Again, I think he's one of the best written characters in literature, like of all time, to be honest. Like, he's definitely like top 5, because you were even talking about like his friendship. Like Lily, I think that Lily might have been one of the only true friends that he had. The Dumbledore friendship that he had is a friendship, but it's something a little different. I think both of them were shutting themselves off to the other person a little bit. Like, Dumbledore trusted Snape for the reasons that we all know, and then Snape trusted Dumbledore for the reasons that we all know. But I don't think Dumbledore was telling him his full story. I don't think they would like go out and hang out and get coffee. Like,
I would say like friendship, but like their relationship.
Yeah.
They did, like, I mean,
it's a trusting relationship.
Trusting relationship. And also, you could see like Snape respected him, like when he said like why did you do this? Like, he's like, when he put on the ring, like, he was almost like mad at him, because
he didn't understand.
You are the only person that I am, like, that knows the truth, and I'm not gonna have that anymore. Like, you so,
Snape, like, legitimately, Snape almost becomes like his father figure in the last little book, which is so fascinating to me. Like his backstory, his in-between story for when he had his worst memory to when he became a Death Eater to when, like, he really pled for Lily would be such a great series. Give me all the details on that.
Because there's a line in the memories where he says, like, how many people die, and he's like, or something like that, and he's like, recently only the people I couldn't save. Like, I mean, like, that just hints at there was, like, he saw like hectic stuff. And the other sad thing about him is that he died without anyone knowing. He's like, everyone that died before that also hated him. I mean, like, so like, he never got the recognition for what he did. So except, like, now Harry can sort of tell everyone. But I mean, like, Lupin died without knowing what Snape did for them. And for,
oh my gosh, so, that is so tragic. That's so good. That's so tragic.
Very sad. Like, I mean, and he knew when he killed Dumbledore, is like, I am literally cutting all ties from the good side. They're gonna hate me now. And I'm willing to do that. Like, there was no, it's very selfless. Like, there's no self-preservation there for him at all anymore. So so that's what I love when he says, like, he was the bravest man. Like, when Harry says the names at the end, and he says, like, he was one of the bravest people. So, and he was brave. So that you can't take away from him.
And so that's one of the beautiful things too, is because Harry is the one saying this, and Harry's very, very selfless in this book. And for him to actually recognize that about Snape is such a great point, because what Snape is doing in this series is, whether you think this, that he's super selfish, or like no one really agrees he's a good person. Like, he's pretty messed up. But people talk about Harry being a marked person. I know, for sure. Definitely should have been in a t-shirt. He should have been like something else awkward, like the research professor or something like that, But for everyone says like Harry is the marked man, Harry's the marked person in this, but Snape also was the marked person, and then just like took it on himself that, okay, his life in a sad way, his life almost like didn't mean anything, but like he gave up his life completely, like from front to back, or not from like the moment that Lily died to the end of his life. He gave that to protect Harry. And again, his relationship with Harry is weird, but it's like there's a beautiful self-sacrifice and self-givingness with that.
And also, he looks like the person he hates. Like, I mean, that's so difficult for him to.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's such a human thing to want someone to say, like, if you do something good, to say, wow, you did something. You know, it's not like seeking it out, but it's like a human feeling to want someone to say, like, oh, you did a nice thing, you know, well done, or something like that, you know, like sort of recognition for that. And he just knew he was never going to get that. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's that's every time he's looking at him, he's visualizing James. But there's one part in the movies versus the books that I kind of love this line, but it's not the most divisive line because it's like explaining what happens in the books. But when Snape is about to die in the books, Snape just says to Harry, "Look at me," and I think that's perfect because it's understated. You see, like, okay, Snape just wanted to see Lily's eyes one more time. I actually don't mind in the movies that they spelled it out a little bit more. Because in the book, it was like, what was he really saying behind that? And when you finish the whole series, you're like, oh, he was clearly going for that. Yeah. But I actually like the line in the movies when he says, "Look at me," and then he says, "You have your mother's eyes." I think that was a great like turn of phrase from the very beginning of the series when we see that. So I actually kind of love that because that's who he was fighting for, and he's such an interesting, fascinating character. It's a great one.
No, I don't think they like if Lily chose him. I don't think it would have ever worked out. I think in zone from the beginning. I don't think she ever saw him like that. And also he chose the dark path. I think from the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean, like just the spells that he invented. And I'm thinking now I think someone commented where she was smiling at when he was like upside down. And I wonder how involved she was because they were really good friends. How did she know the spells that he invented? Like, did he invent some of them while they were like, you know, studying together or stuff like that? So I wonder if she knew his own spell is being used against him at this moment, and sort of like, you know, karma.
That's actually fascinating. Yeah. So she's like smiling because she sees him go down this. Yeah.
I don't think she was involved, like, in most of the spells. Like, she helped him, but I think like he might have invented, you know, some of the spells while she was with him. I don't know.
That's actually really fascinating. So she's like looking at that situation, saying like, oh, you know, like finally you're becoming a bad wizard, and this is like coming back to bite you in the butt, you know.
Her own spells, you know, because I think she saw him going down a dark path, like. Yeah. Now, I think she tried to help him as much as she could, but there's at some point you know, you have to go to make their own mistakes to learn from it. And unfortunately, he paid for it, but
And it's fascinating too. Like, now that you mentioned that, I want to like dissect that scene because that's such a fascinating scene in the books. Because his worst memory, like she is when she's smiling, that's actually like her. Glad that this has happened to Snape because she's probably like still holding out to hope that Snape can like turn around from that. If she didn't smile at all and she just walked away, then she's like, maybe she's just completely given up. But it wasn't until that point, like Snape was having this magic used against him, and Lily's probably smiling, going like, now he's getting a taste of his own medicine. Maybe he'll see how bad this is and turn away from it. And like she's happy about that. And then finally when he calls her a mudblood, that's like when the last straw that broke the camel's back, and that's when he really like lost Lily, and that's like the tragic moment after that. But
I must say it's also so amazing in that scene where I think he does a spell, a non-verbal spell, and like a cut appears on James's cheek. Yeah, and it's like I think it wasn't like a full-on Sectum Sempra, but it was like
Here's another side question, because I was reading about this today because someone was talking about what their favorite spell was. Do you have a favorite spell in the Harry Potter universe?
I don't know.
It's a random question, but someone I think I saw that like a some kind of Reddit, or maybe it was someone was talking about it on our Discord.
No, I don't think I do. I like Lumos just because light.
Yeah, it's a great one.
And you can do it on your phone, so that's cool.
Yep.
And I don't know. I've got another hot take. So, how do you feel about talking about spells? About Harry using unforgivable spells by the end of
Oh
the.
man.
I
I
don't mind it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't mind.
It's so divisive, but I actually, again, even what you were talking about, it's like a time of war. Like
Mm.
there are certain, I love that Harry does hold on to like a lot of his ethics in the book, but there are certain things that
Like
I
he doesn't
feel,
use the last one, like the most
yeah,
evil one, but he, so that I like, and
yeah,
that he doesn't ever cast that.
yeah,
So
100%. I
that
think
I
that's
like.
great.
And also like the reason why he uses it. Like I like that he uses Crucio because of them spitting in her face. I'm
yeah,
like, yes.
yeah, for sure. And
I'm
I
just proving that I'm such a Gryffindor. I'm like, yes.
yeah, they get what they deserve. I think I'm with you. The times that he used them were maybe this is gonna sound really messed up, but they were justifiable. Like when he tried to use it on Bellatrix,
Mm.
more than him using the Cruciatus Curse, what I see behind that is his absolute and utter love for his uncle. Not really his uncle, but I call him Uncle
Mm.
Sirius. Um,
Mm.
I think it's almost justified at that point. Like I'm okay with him using that because again, it shows like the ferocity with which he loves Sirius. And then when they use the Imperius curse on the goblins, I'm like,
Mm.
they, this sounds terrible, but the ends somewhat justify the means of them. They have to do something like this. Is there otherwise they're going to be captured and the book's going to be done. Like at that moment.
And also he used it at least to say like go and hide. So that's good.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think like by the end of the series, we had to, as being Harry, experience how it
Hmm.
feels to do the unforgivable curses on
Yeah,
someone.
yeah,
Like I think we had to experience that.
yep.
So yeah, so I
And
understand why she did it.
yeah, I have a hot take that I actually think Amortentia is more
Mhm.
dangerous than the Imperius Curse, and I think it's a
Yeah.
more perverted thing to do than the Imperius
Yeah.
Curse because the Imperius
But also
Curse.
um,
Go ahead.
like no, like anything, it's like there's levels to it. Like
Yeah.
obviously you
Hmm.
get like the teenager, like obviously they don't know. Oh, sorry. Fix it. So the guinea fowl in my neighborhood had babies, so
Ooh,
they like in our
they're all intrigued
like
by
in
it.
my front. Yeah, no, they're in my front garden, and then like the dog barks at them.
That's all right.
um, I can't do. Oh yeah, so the, like also the levels of using it. Like the teenagers will use it for the innocent
Yeah,
way and like
yeah,
not seeing like typical teenagers not seeing the danger in it,
yeah,
but then obviously you also have the extreme. It's like anything, like it's innocent until someone uses it for the wrong thing,
yeah,
so
yeah. Exactly. And it's also yeah, it's the innocence of the person that's using it, and you know that like
mm,
Harry is a pure being and he's not going to use it really for evil. So
mm,
like the Imperius curse, it's all about the caster. Like Voldemort, if he uses the Imperius curse, it's never going to be good. You know, it's never
mm,
going to work out great. But like a Dumbledore, a Harry, like if a Hermione or a Ron uses that, there's a potential that it could be really ugly and like pretty nasty because the person is doing it, like doing stuff against their own will.
mm,
But there's also a potential that they're like using it and they're like helping the person, or like they're doing what they need to do, but they're also like helping the other person, you know, like get away from here, get out of here, because the whole ministry
mm,
is about to blow up, you know.
mm,
So they're like helping people out. So I guess it's just the
mm,
caster, but Amortentia to me feels like you have no. It's used
mm,
by. It's such a low key dark thing in the books to me.
mm,
Um,
mm.
that like you have no real option or no like fight against this. Wes is making an appearance. So Amortentia to me just feels really dangerous and really dark, and I hate that idea so much.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's very dangerous,
Yeah,
especially in the romance.
yeah.
Yeah,
Those are good
as
hot
we see.
takes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I like your hot takes on that.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
I
here's
do.
here's the final question. Unless you want to talk about anything else, we can talk for hours and hours about Harry Potter. I can talk for
Yeah.
hours about Harry Potter.
Mm.
But what has the series meant to you?
Oh, I was thinking about that today. Oh, it's such a. I think most people see it as, oh, if you're different, and this sort of gives you like it's okay to be different kind of thing. But I just think it's like a perfect story of humanity.
Yeah.
It's just, I think, because she hits on points that like everyone will experience. It doesn't mean your background, where you come from,
Mhm.
what country you're from, whatever, but everyone is going to experience loss in their lives and grief. And then, so that. And then also, what I liked about, like, and I think this is the reasons why I like the last book so much, is just like when Harry is like in that deep depression and he sort of wants to give up. It just gives that nice message of there's always going to be an end to this. Ron is going to come back, and Ron does come back. And what brings him back? The light brings him back. And that's such a nice message. And, just, I love that. Like,
Yeah. You were even
but it's
talking.
just like, I think it's like such a nice story about humanity
Yeah.
and then grief. And then, I mean, like if Harry that experiences so much of all this can do what he did at the end and then also have a happy ending, like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's such a nice story.
That's why you were even mentioning the inscriptions on the tombstones, and I love that, and like the idea where I think one of them is where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And then
they're all like passages from the Bible, actually.
Yeah. And then I think the other one is like, the other one is the same from the Bible, like the last enemy to be defeated is death. But the idea of friendship within that, and how these characters, like, again, you were even talking about like the redemption arcs that come up with these characters and how much they, like, how the story is really just a story about redemption. And everyone, again, gravitates to some of the other themes in this book, just like, people talk about how it's such a great story, but
like, I mean, even Harry tries, like, this is the person who killed, or is the reason why everyone in his life that he, like, who is dead is dead.
Yep.
And he actually tries for redemption for him at the end.
One of the most shocking parts in the book.
And I don't think, like, I think if he actually tried, because Hermione actually says that if they try redemption, the pain of that actually hurts so much
it would kill them,
that they will die. But I think, like, just like Harry still has hope that this person who actually did Horcruxes and also killed everyone, that there is just a bit of hope that he can actually come back from this.
And that to me is like the culmination of like the beauty of humanity. And no matter how far someone has gone down, there's always like a second chance for them. There's always like there's redemption that can be found, and it's I cannot wait till we get to the end of the books, because then we can talk about like some of the larger themes of the books, and I will go on long rants about like some of the truly touching themes in this book, and how some of the messages are just how they wrap up friendship so well, how they wrap up like what it truly means to love so well. Like, they really have a good understanding of that kind of stuff.
What I like about the book is, obviously you have the romantic relationships and that, but that's sort of in the background. It's like they're not like the front. That's not the front thing that we have to concentrate about, like, on. It's mostly the friendships, family, redemption, all that stuff. That's like the main thing. And you would think like it's a teenager story and you're young, you concentrate more on like the romantic stuff because everyone wants to know that. But but I did read an article, and it's quite interesting. Everyone asked JK what religion she is, and she's like, no, she's not gonna tell, because it's gonna give away the end of the book. So I like that. It was quite
and that was I'll talk about this at the very end of anything that we do, but I think how she like hid that, and it was so fascinating to me. Like, growing up in any kind of like faith or religion community, people were hating these books from the get-go. It was like you couldn't even read these books if you were a part of like any like religious or faith community or anything like that. And then how she switched that, because again, like what she is saying is like the story of, it's kind of the story of like Christianity a little bit. It's the story of some of the, like the Bible. It's like this guy essentially comes back to life and then defeats death.
All stories are like that. Like, they just really, but like that, and I think I heard this on a podcast. I'm not like so philosophical that I think about this myself, but everyone was like, this is a story about you, like, this is our story.
Yep.
They just happen to be able to do magic. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's not like the magical stuff is all that to get you hooked in the beginning, but then it's like about all,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
stories that everyone experiences, even if
Yep.
we're not magical.
And that's the reason we
Um,
keep coming back to it. It's
um,
I I
yeah.
love the magic in it. I love like different
Mm,
concepts that they have, but it's like the humanity that these characters have. It's like the deeper
mm,
themes that this touches on with like, thestrals and
mm,
dementors and all these other creatures.
yeah.
That's the reason I keep coming back to the series. It's not just because it's like I want to get into like the magical world again, which I do very much do,
Mm,
but
yeah. But coming back to the religious thing that you said, that's very funny to me. We actually discussed it on one of the I think you already left when we did like the free broomsticks thing.
Mhm.
When they said it was sort of everyone was against it in America because of they say it was like witchcraft and
Yeah.
stuff. It wasn't banned in South Africa at all, and we are like I think South Africa especially is very old school still,
Yeah.
especially the Afrikaans community, and that's why it's like actually translated in Afrikaans, and yeah, so I think maybe because we had there was an Afrikaans show like way back when I was young called Liewe Haxie, which is Hax is a witch in Afrikaans,
Okay.
um, and it was like these puppets of this like witch that was very dumb, like she
Mhm.
wasn't like the smartest, and she lived with these dwarfs and stuff, and like all these silly things happened to her, and I can't actually believe my mother allowed me to watch that because they're super scary, like these puppets, string puppets and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, do yourself a favor and Google Livaxi.
Okay.
It's like, well, what? And then,
Give us the spelling of that.
so
What's the spelling of
we
that?
were sort of, um, I'll send it in the
Okay.
chat. I'll send you some links. Um, and then like it's so weird that South Africa didn't like go up in arms about this,
Mm.
like when Harry Potter came out, because yeah, I think when it comes to we're very old school still in our
Mm.
religious, the churches and stuff like that, and it's So when they said like no, it was sort of was it like banned or stuff in the US or not really, or like
Um, no, not necessarily. It was banned in certain uh groups, but there's
mhm.
like banned books are and banned books never really work out unless it's like
Yeah.
unless you're banning books about making Horcruxes
Mm.
and just like
Mm.
there's only one
Yeah.
book of that. It was more
But
so.
obviously there were like protests
Yeah.
against it.
Yep. There were people who were writing to libraries saying that you shouldn't have these books. Like there's just backlash
Uh,
against that kind of stuff. So like
uh,
people were just very um I don't know if
mm,
divisive is the right word, but people were
mm,
um it was just very, I guess it was just very polarizing.
mm,
Like I remember
mm,
one of the kids in a circle that I was in like went and watched the movies, and he was seen as like crazy that you were
mm,
like part of any kind of Christian or like religious group and you would go
mm,
see Harry Potter. And it's it's wild to me because really the end of this book, again, just like what you were talking about, just like what I was saying before, it's very, there's a lot of religious overtones to it, and it's like really the story of faith, because it's like how much you truly love someone, and it really defines love. Like love is being self-giving and self-sacrificing to other people. And
Yeah, because by the end, when Harry hears the whole story from about Dumbledore from Aberforth, I
mhm,
mean, like he literally has to say, like, okay, I have faith in
yeah,
this man that I don't really trust anymore,
yep,
but I am gonna do what he told me, and I've got
yeah,
faith in what is planned is gonna work. So
yep.
yeah, so
So yeah, it was
yeah,
it
but it's
was
very
like
yeah.
super polarizing, but like it's not that anymore. Like
Mm,
anybody,
yeah,
like
mm,
super religious people read it, super unreligious people read it.
mm,
Like it's
mm,
just become like one of those classics that everyone kind of
mm,
reads and they love. I think that kind of is
mm,
true with a lot of different
mm,
books. Like I know um the Chronicles of Narnia is like a little bit different because I think C.S. Lewis is just
mm,
flat out like Christian, but I'm sure that caused some controversy in the time when it was written because like
mm,
there's witches in that one, there's all sorts of magic in that
yeah.
one. I'm sure it's like a little bit controversial. I feel like any book
Mm.
that you write to a certain audience, it's going to be controversial and it's going to be like people don't
I
want
think
it or don't get it.
where I think the controversy came in is when they say witches and wizards. It's
Yeah.
like you think about when I think there was a movie like I'm gonna give away my age now, like The Craft, I think was it, where they like do spells by like sacrificing.
Okay.
So, you know, like when you say witches and wizards, that's what you think, like
Yeah.
witchcraft,
Yeah.
not like
Yep.
a wand and doing a spell.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like,
yeah. So I think that's where it came in. Like before you actually know what it's about, you're gonna say like, no, you can't teach kids how to do 11-year-olds how to do like spells and stuff like that. So when you say you cast a spell, it's like with a wand and not like a circle with you know whatever.
It's not like voodoo or something like that. It's just like
dancing around it and stuff like that.
But yeah,
okay, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about that a lot more at the very end of the podcast because that's a big one for like everyone in the season 1. So we'll probably talk about that for a little bit because it's such a fascinating one.
Okay.
But thanks for jumping onto this. This is really fun. This is great.
Fun.
Any last things to say? Anything that we missed?
What I must say. I don't know.
We probably missed a bunch.
More questions? You have more questions? I can't remember. I did write down your questions that you put on the.
I think we got them all.
Mm.
How many times have you read it? When did you first start reading it?
Oh, yeah.
Favorite character? Hottest take? I think we nailed everything.
I'll probably put it on the Discord.
Yeah, for sure.
Remember something.
We'll
I was like thinking of what I wanted to say. I didn't write everything down, but I was thinking of what I wanted to say.
Honestly, after I finished the first interview, I was like, we're probably gonna do like two parts of these interviews because after like we sit and gush about this for the first time, we end this and we're like, oh man, I wish I mentioned that and I wish I mentioned this and this and so I'm like, okay, we'll just do part 2s to all the interviews because we missed so much and there's so much to talk about with all this stuff that yeah, it's worth it to just keep gushing about this.
The main points.
Yeah. Cool. Now we get all that's why even these first interviews Nandela, I gotta always call them Tamale Talks, not interviews, because she got mad at me for calling them interviews the other day. But even these first Tamale Talks are like it's like almost superficial Harry Potter talk. Like we were even talking in our Discord about Horcruxes and like how I had a slight misunderstanding with some Horcruxes, and I just did a terrible job of explaining that in the podcast the other day. But like I want to just have everyone who's a member on.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to talk about Horcruxes for like a few hours. Maybe not like a few hours, but there's just so much involved in all that I think that's the stuff that I really love talking about. Like with one of these theories, I want to hear what everyone thinks. So even about like some of the stuff that we were talking about, some of like the hot takes that we have, I want to get like 10 different people in a room and just talk about like what all of us think about that. Cause that's really fascinating to me when everyone has a different opinion of it and we can kind of just like figure it out.
And also like how you envision like Horcruxes working, like because I'm a visual person. Okay, this is his soul, and then he breaks off a piece, and then it's like smaller, or is it like this is the whole one, just like chunks breaks off? Or
the same, and that's why when they were even talking about like splitting the soul. I know. So I think
there was like a question you put on Reddit a while ago. Where you were saying like, oh, Harry was arguing with, I think it was an Half-Blood Prince, where he was arguing with Snape of how to fight the Mentors, and obviously Snape couldn't do a Patronus because then it would give the whole story away. So there's just a small line in Deathly Hallows. It just shows you how many times I've read this book, where he would go into the ministry where all the Dementors are there when he goes to the trials, and he's like, he can't cast the Patronus because then everyone's gonna know who he is, and he was like thinking of Ron and Hermione, and that he needs like this is where they need to, and then he walks through them, like through the Dementors. So
that's fascinating. Like, I forgot about that. That's so good.
Sense because Harry is like a action person, like I need to do a spell to fight something, and Snape is the mental, like you fight it with your mind, you fight it with your, all that stuff. So so that makes sense.
That does make sense because Snape is very reserved. He's not gonna like show outward magic. He really doesn't do a ton of magic in this whole series.
Because if Snape is around the Mentors, does he have a memory of hearing that Lily died? Like that's probably his worst like memory. But if you take like the movie as canon, then he arrives.
Yeah, for sure.
And then but like that moment when he hears about her dying, or like hearing that he's going after her because he thinks it's a prophecy, is that his worst memories that he like relives when he's around Dementors. So he has to have a way to fight them
Yeah.
without like collapsing like Harry does.
Yep.
And he can't cast the Patronus, so he has to have like a mental way, so to block them.
Yeah, it's like a Patronus in the mind or something like that. That's
Yeah,
fascinating. That's Patronus stuff is one of my favorite
Mm.
branches of magic. I think that's like one of the coolest. And that line always set me up. I'm like, what else? How else can you defeat a Dementor? Like, what are the other ways? And I think Snape is a very obviously like very guarded and secretive person. So I feel like he has something that he like even just developed himself of how trying to like figure this out. And I feel like that might be it. Like it's like a mental. I had never really connected the two when Harry walks through that and he doesn't cast the Patronus, but he just thinks of Ron and Hermione. That's probably what Snape was doing.
Like, it's the same as when he uses the resurrection stone, they act as his Patronuses.
Yeah.
To walk through that. So there is other ways. So I've got the weirdest Patronus.
What do you have?
But I do think that it got influenced by my searches on the internet that week.
Yeah.
So mine is an aardvark.
An aardvark, all right.
So there was an article about like that week was, it's actually a very sad story, but there was, because we've got a lot of poaching and stuff in South Africa, so, and illegal animal trading and stuff. So there was a story about an aardvark that like washed up on one of our beaches because they think that it was illegal animal trading, and then he died, and then they threw him off the boat and he like washed up. So I was like reading about this, and I'm part of this charity like that fight like animal trading and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then I was like reading their stuff and whatever, and then I think like the next day I did my Patronus like redid and then that came up as my Patronus, and I'm like, this is so weird.
Honestly, I feel like there's a lot of credence behind it because mine is a fox, and a fox is one of my favorite animals. So when I got that, I was over the moon. But I'm like, I probably was Googling like cute foxes that week or something like that, and it probably popped up.
Like, I'm taking this now.
Yeah. We should do a study into that. Does it take the last animal that you just Googled? So like, well, I'm just going to start making new accounts and then Googling animals and seeing if I get that as a Patronus.
That was an option.
Hey, aardvark is kind of cool though. That's a unique one. I've never heard someone having an aardvark before. So
why? I'll take a dog or something like that.
Yeah.
Rhino.
Yeah, rhino would be awesome. Danny, because Danny's just like a hare, and he always gets caught up. He's like, a hare's not going to do anything, and I always have to remind him, it's not the animal itself. It's like the
tortoise and the hare.
I know, yeah, exactly.
It's like stories about them.
But that would be pretty cool to have like a whole rhino bursting out of your wand that you cast as a Patronus. Yeah. There's a little bit more intimidation that comes with that than a hare or an aardvark.
I've got an aardvark. I don't know. I'm gonna attack those Dementors like hit them. I don't know.
That's so great.
Oh, wait, that's funny.
All right, well, thanks for doing this. This is fun. I'm excited to I'm excited to do more member chats where we kind of just talk about more of this kind of stuff. We'll probably have a whole Patronus chat that we'll talk about too. So we got to come up with like good questions, and then we'll just kind of all talk about that. But thanks for joining today. This is great. This is fun.
So you guys doing a live read tomorrow?
Yeah, so that's on the schedule. So we're gonna do a live read of the next two chapters, which I think are 8 and 9. So it's the wedding and then the chapter where they're on the run. I forgot what the title of that one is.
I love the wedding. Like just that whole
it's a lovely chapter. It's great. I can't wait for it.
That's also one of the chapters where I read the chapter, or like the beginning or the wedding part, and then I went back and read it again, and then I only went on. First time.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think there's a slight chance tomorrow, and I haven't completely firmed this up. So the next chapters are the wedding and a place to hide. And
okay, cool.
Chapter 10. So I almost want to do 3 chapters because the next chapter after that is Creature's Tale. And that has to be the live reading. I know. I just that we have to live read that one. So I'm like, maybe we'll just knock out 3 chapters, and maybe we'll just do a podcast into like the chapters 8 and 9 and then save Creature's Tale for later. But just getting a live read on that one would be so fun. So I might just do 3 chapters. So we'll see. So that'll be tomorrow.
I might make them. So because we've got a bride tomorrow, like barbecue.
Oh, nice.
braai.
A braai. I like that.
Yeah, braai. Yeah. So also we do barbecues, braais on an open flame. So
Okay.
we don't do the whole grill thing, and we do like steaks
Nice.
and lamb chops
That's so much
and
better.
stuff like that.
The taste of that is so
Yeah,
much better.
meat is very cheap. Yeah, because we've got
Ooh.
a lot of like it's not the cheapest, but like
Yeah.
it's cheaper than nothing. Like my sister lives in Holland and like they can't
Okay.
afford it there, so they eat salmon mostly.
Yeah. It's all
So
fish.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like because we've got a lot of like a huge farming community,
Okay.
like with you know
That's pretty
free
sweet.
range cattle and stuff like that. Yeah, so lamb chops. Yeah, my
Ooh,
mother, because
nice.
I grew up in Bloemfontein in the Free State, which is in the middle of South Africa, a lot of farming communities, and she always
Okay.
like when she visits and then she packs like a whole lamb in her bag to travel because it's cheaper there. And it also tastes different because they eat different grass. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. You can taste the difference between like grass fed versus like
yeah,
farm raised,
yeah.
and yeah.
Everything is always grass fed, but like the type of grass is different because it's like you get Karoo lamb and you get like other lamb. So, yeah.
It's the good stuff.
Anyway.
It's the prime cuts of it. I love
So
that.
I'm teaching all like South African stuff. You guys must come and visit.
I know,
Like, if
100%.
anyone
Yeah.
putting this up to the community, if they want to come and visit, let me know.
Deal.
I'll be your tour guide.
Love that. We're gonna do like a
Take you
whole
to
world tour.
I'll do all the touristy stuff, and then I'll do some local things that we do all the time.
Into it.
South African.
I've always wanted to go to
traditional
Cape
stuff.
Town. Cape Town is a pretty cool place, from everything that I've heard. So
Excellent.
I'd love to go to Cape
Yeah,
Town.
I've been living here now for 10 years. And there's
So
still
cool.
like a lot of like on our bucket list, and like it just like grows and grows of stuff
Yeah.
that we want to. Like we always do the main things, but then like small, things we need to do. Yeah, I've never been to Robben Island, which is like a tragedy. So yeah.
Why?
So that's where Nelson Mandela was.
Oh, gotcha,
like
gotcha.
museum. So
Yeah.
that's where the jail was. So I've never been there. But yeah, so it's quite expensive though. So like that's the problem with Cape Town is it's so targeted for tourists.
Yeah, they make everything
like
so
the local
expensive.
people can't afford it.
Yeah.
All the like the specials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like
it's I'm right outside of New York City, but we don't have like the same level of like history in some of the New York City stuff. But all the touristy stuff in New York City is so expensive, and anybody who's from New York City avoids those places like the plague. Yeah. Like last year was the first year I'd ever been to the Statue of Liberty, and I just never gone before, and like everyone knows that it's like the touristy place. But I was supposed to go in 5th grade, but in 5th grade 9/11 happened like the week before we were supposed to go, so everything got shut down, so it was a little crazy. And then I just never went, and then I went like last year. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But once you see it,
a friend of mine worked in New York for I think 3 months, and she loved it. But like she said, like when she arrived, because we've got quite cold winters, but it's more rainy, like it rains a lot. And she said when she got there, she was like the people on the homeless people were better dressed than she was. Like she was so she's like, it's so cold. Because we don't really get snow. Like we get snow in the mountains, like because Cape Town's surrounded by mountains. So we get snow in the mountains, but you really need to like drive up and then walk quite a distance to actually see the snow. So we don't get snow like in
And it's the summer by you right now, right? Southern Hemisphere.
Yes, it's so hot. Like it's so humid. I don't know. Like we had such a long winter. Like it was raining, like a very strange rain. So we don't get thunderstorms at all in Cape Town. Like that's not a thing. So where I grew up, like thunderstorm, like summer rain, is a thing. With thunderstorms and stuff, and you always get that like because it's very hot and then it starts raining. So that smell.
It's a great smell.
So I love that. But then like Cape Town people, if there's a thunderstorm, so there was a couple of like the last 3 to 4 years, there were like thunderstorms at like the end of winter, and people would freak out because they're not used to it, so they get scared. And so we had a very long winter. Like it was so like it was raining until like almost into September, which is not normal. And now we've got like this humid weather that's not supposed to be Cape Town at all. Like it's more like upper, like more the tropical side of South Africa. So it's very strange. And then it looked like it was going to rain this morning, and now it's like super hot and like it's so it's very weird.
It's brutal.
Like, it's a weird summer.
I'm not the biggest fan of humidity. I do love summers though. Like, give me some good hot weather
Mhm.
rather than cold weather.
Yeah.
But my
Yeah, so
dog
our
loves
Christmas
the cold.
holidays is usually
Yeah,
summer.
it's weird.
Yeah,
That's
we
bizarre.
do the summer. And like it's also because so how did your school years work? I always wanted to ask this. Like
Yeah.
now that I'm an American on the
We
line.
give a whole download of the American school system right now.
Yeah.
Um,
So how does school year work?
Ours was September. September is when like fall kind of starts. So we start in
Mm-hmm.
September, and it depends on what part of the country you're from. Like
Okay.
anywhere from August. So I lived in the South in America for a little bit, and they started school in the beginning of August. But it's like when like summer is kind of
Just want to
over. Oh, you're
pick up
good.
my dog. You can talk.
Yeah. So we start September. We go pretty much just straight through until June. So that's how like Northeast. I'm from the Northeast states, and it's September to June. But like some are like August to May. It just depends. But it's usually just like 9 months straight, and then you get 3 months, 2.5, 3 months off. So we had summer break from June, July, August, and then we were like done. We had like a week break here and there. Like you'd have a week for Christmas, but it was like that was it, and you just do that from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Because that always confuses me because our year is literally our school year is from January to December. Like that's our school year. So
Really?
yeah, so
That's
okay, we
depressing.
have like breaks in between, but like so it usually starts like middle January. And then like we'll have like quarters. So then like June, like winter will be like that will be like a long holiday, like
Yeah.
maybe 3 weeks and then weeks. And then like the school will like close in beginning of December, and then it's like break because it's Christmas break and summer break until like middle of January. So like our school year doesn't start like in
That's
like
weird.
it's like the form of a year. Like
But do you have like weeks off here and there, like more weeks off ever
yes,
throughout the
we
year?
do have like school holidays. So we have 4 school holidays over the year, but like our format is like your grade will start like in January and
Yeah.
then you'll end at the end of the year. It's not like you guys that start in
Yeah,
September
yeah, September, and
then
you just
that's
go
your school
through.
year until the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know which one I would like more. I feel like having like a few weeks off here and there throughout the year would be kind of nice.
Yeah, no, we definitely have like our school holidays are very long. Like
Yeah.
we've got like especially our university holidays are even like longer. But yeah, just like I think when our year starts, so if you're a first year student, you start in the beginning of the year, like actually how the year goes. So yeah.
I mean, that makes sense if you're a first year, it just goes through a year. That's why like ours is weird because like my high school years were 2008 to 2009. So like you go, oh, I was
Mine
like
was
08, 09.
yes, yeah. Oh, that's like I think that's what's different.
Yeah, we do a lot of things that just don't make sense here in America. You know, like we changed a lot of the British system, but we just like inches, yards, how many feet is in a mile? Like none of that makes sense. But
I
like
have to Google that all the time. Like I'm so that confuses me.
The SNL, which I don't know if you get that in South Africa, but it's like Saturday Night Live.
We do get it on our we've got like sort of like cable, as we call it DTV. So so we do get that on some of the channels, but like mostly we just watch it on YouTube.
they just did like a skit that was like Americans, George Washington like saying what he's gonna found the new country on, and it was all that kind of stuff. It's like what's the measurement system gonna be like? And it's like it's not gonna make any sense. We're gonna have like 5,280 feet. That's how much a mile is going to be. It's like none of it makes sense. None of it's mathematically correct, but we just do it because we do it, you know?
So funny.
All right. Well, I got to run, but thanks for having the conversation with me. This is a great time. I can talk about Harry Potter for hours. What was that?
It's during the day. Are you supposed to work now? Because it's like during the day.
Yeah, my schedule is always like a little bit flexible. So I know. So it's nice. I can kind of like go and come and go as I please. And Fridays are usually a little bit more of a relaxed day for me. So it's nice.
Okay.
But thanks again. This is great.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next chat, Tamale Talk.
Good. I'm looking forward to it too. It's going to be fun.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. Have a good night or day. It's night by you, right?
Yes.
Good.
Mm.
Have a good night.
Cool. Okay. Bye.
Bye.